I'm going to show you how you can do the bearing in 3D. I'm using AutoCAD 2012. What you want to do at the very beginning is just open up your old 2D bearing drawing. It is super important that you remember you have to save this as bearing 3D. You do not, I stress, do not want to make your final changes to that 2D drawing. So do save as. I'm just going to put mine on the desktop. Call it bearing 3D. You're going to save it into your Unit 7 folder, bearing 3D. Now I've got this guy open. This is just my regular old bearing drawing that I've already done. I'll just go ahead and zoom into the base right here. I'm going to use my layer isolate, do settings and turn it off, and I'm going to isolate my visible layer. This is what I'm going to be using to make my 3D bearing. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and go to my view. I'm going to do an isometric view. And I'm going to go ahead and put mine in conceptual. I just like it that way. Alright, so I'm going to start off with this guy right here. I'm going to take that base and I need to extrude it to make it 3D. So I'm going to use my extrude command. But before I can use that extrude command, I have to make this a polyline. You can only extrude polylines. If I were to extrude right now, you see how it's only taking the lines and giving them depth? You can't really do that. So I'm going to do my p-edit, select the line, join, and what that did for me is it made this one long continuous polyline. Now when I extrude, select the polyline, it fills in that whole object and makes it 3D. So I'm going to pull it down a depth of 3. These little guys right here, I'm not going to worry about those right now. I'm actually going to delete them, and you'll see why later. Those were the threaded holes that we had. What we're going to do later is insert a 3D bolt, subtract it out, and it'll leave behind those threaded holes. So I'll just delete those right now. Press pull is my favorite command, and this guy, you're going to press pull this down your total depth. Forget what the depth is on this one. I think it's 1.6. Let me pull it out here. Alright, 1.63. Alright, now I'm going to press pull this guy, and this one has a depth of 0.25. So I've got the hole going 1.63 down, I've got the counter bore down 0.25. I need to get this little dovetail here, and what I'm going to do is draw a line to close this off on the side. That way I can press pull, click here, the total height of this thing is 5.5. I'm going to use my rotate command. I'm going to rotate it along the y-axis, negative 90 degrees. And now I'm just going to move it, pick it up from, need to turn on my midpoint, pick it up from the midpoint and place it on the midpoint there. Now what I can do is subtract from the base, enter that little shape, enter, and you'll see as I orbit, I just took that dovetail all the way through. I'm going to press pull this little circle. This thing had a diameter of 4, so I'll just make that 4. Now I'm going to come in here and rotate, but instead of just rotating that cylinder, I'm going to rotate all the lines with it too, and you'll see why in just a second. When I rotate this 90 degrees, I'm going to move this, and the reason I rotated these lines is so I can select that top line from the midpoint, place it right here, and that just puts it in the perfect spot for me. So now I'm going to press pull, or I'm sorry, extract or subtract from the base that cylinder, and that's it. I'm done with this one part. I'm going to move over here. I do this part a little differently than the book does. What I'm going to do is press pull the side view, This has a depth of 2. And the book actually has you press pull all of this, or extrude all of this with these little flaps here. I don't do it that way. I actually start off with a cylinder, pull it down so I can see those holes, and that cylinder, I'm going to give it a depth of 2, and then I rotate this guy -90, move, and I'm going to do mid between 2 points. So I'll pick it up from midpoint to midpoint, snap it to center, and then union. It is very important that you remember to union these two together. So I've got the overall shape. Now I'm going to press pull. All of these smaller holes go all the way through, so you can just pull it through the object. This is great. In 2012, press pull stays active. This one goes all the way through. Now these guys only go down 0.1. Sometimes it does not work the way you think it should. There we go. For some reason it press pulled it, but it didn't subtract it out. So I've got this. It's totally done. I know there's fillets right here, but just through the years I've stopped worrying about those fillets on this project, and that's probably a horrible thing to say, but I say let's just ignore the fillets. Let's see. Now I'm going to press pull this guy. He has a total depth of 2.24. Press pull this 0.24 and union those two together so that it's one piece. Alright, so I'm done with all 3 of these parts. What I need to do now is rotate them, kind of align them so that they're in line with each other. I'm going to do the rotate command, pick this guy up, and I'm going to actually rotate him this way. -90. Rotate this guy this way. Oops, not -60. Rotate this way. -90. I need to rotate him one more time. There we go. Rotate this guy 90. Not -90, but just 90. Now what I can do is just move. I'm going to move all these parts kind of off to the side here. I'm actually going to move this guy right where he belongs. Move this one right there. So these parts are all done. I didn't have them in the right place. Okay, so now what I need to do is a couple of things. I need to make that washer, and I need to make the 3D bolt and subtract it out and then get this thing in order. So what I'm going to do here is just look in the book. I'm looking at the chuck print at the end of the bearing project, and it says type B washer. It says diameter 0.513. I'm just going to do a regular little circle over here. D for diameter, 0.513. Make another circle. D for diameter. This time it says the diameter is 1. I'm going to press pull this, and it tells me in this note that it has a depth of 0.063. That's it. I'm done with that washer. Go ahead and rotate him up. And all these red lines, you can delete those when you're done, which is why you don't want to do this to your original drawing. Alright, so now there's a command. It talks about it in the book. It's called ICISIN. I have no idea what that stands for, but what this does is we have a 3D bolt that was brought in from McMaster-Carr's website, and it was already done for us, but it's an SAT file, and I don't know what program makes SAT files, but it's already done for us. It's in an SAT file. This ACISIN command actually grabs that SAT file and brings it into AutoCAD as a block. So ICISIN. No, ACISIN. Alright, we're going to go to the Unit 7 folder that you copied over into your U drive, and there it is. That's the SAT file. Open, and it brings it in at 0, 0, wherever that happens to be on your drawing. Mine happens to be like right here where you can see it. You might have to zoom out or pan around till you can find wherever it brought that bolt in. But it's pretty sweet. That bolt's already done for us. It's already threaded. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this guy 90. Nope, negative 90. Just about every rotation I do in here is negative 90. Alright, now what I'm going to do is copy this into place. I'm going to copy this here. I'm actually going to copy one more time. The reason for this is I'm about to subtract these bolts out, and when I subtract them I'm going to have to put them back in the same place. So I may as well just make a copy right where it is. That way the version that I subtract out, when it goes away I still have bolts left. My second copy. So select objects, press enter, specify base point. If you just press enter right here, it just makes a copy right there. So what I'm going to do now is subtract from the base. Do not select the base and the cap. If you do that, it'll subtract it from both of them, but it'll also union those two together. You don't want that to happen. So subtract from the base only, enter, this, 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 and this, press enter. Doesn't look like anything happened, but that's because I had a second copy here. But check this out. I'm going to turn on my ortho, and as I move this away, there I've got my threaded holes. Go ahead and move this out. Move out one of these. Make sure your ortho's on when you're doing this, or that you're using the 3D move. And that's it. I don't need this. I don't need that. Zoom in, you can see those threaded holes right there. And that's it. We're done with the bearing.